Welcome to 21st Sports Recap and Reaction for the Buffalo Bills at the Washington Redskins in their Week 15 matchup played December 20th, 2015. We're going to go over the scores and the stats and give our breakdown and analysis as these two teams were playing for their playoff life as the Bills needed a win to stay alive in the wild card hunt in the AFC, and the Redskins entered this game in a three-way tie in the NFC East, needing a win to stay in the hunt for that division title. So to start things off scoring-wise, in the first quarter, with about 9.5 minutes still left in the quarter, Kirk Cousins hit Jordan Reed for a 3-yard touchdown. Dustin Hopkins added the extra point, and it was 7-0 Redskins over the Bills. So that was the score after one. Then in the second quarter, with just under 13 minutes left before halftime, Kirk Cousins takes it in himself with a 13-yard touchdown run. Dustin Hopkins adds the extra point, and it was 14-0 Washington over Buffalo. Then with a little less than 9 minutes left still in the first half, Kirk Cousins hits Jordan Reed for an 18-yard touchdown pass. Hopkins adds the extra point, and it was 21-0 Redskins over the Bills. So that was the score at halftime as the Redskins dominated the first half of this game. But then in the third quarter, the Bills finally get on the board with about 9 minutes still left in the third when Dan Carpenter hit a 32-yard field goal to make it 21-3. So they trail by 18 points, but the Redskins wasted no time responding as they end up scoring on their very first play of their next possession when Kirk Cousins aired it out to Deshaun Jackson for a 77-yard touchdown. Dustin Hopkins added the extra point, and it was now 28-3 Redskins over the Bills. But the Bills weren't going to just take this one lying down, and they came right back in less than 2 minutes to score with a 60-yard touchdown by Mike Gillespie. And so now it was 28-10 after the extra point by Carpenter. And then with just under 4 minutes left still in the third, Tyrod Taylor airs it out for Sammy Watkins, a 48-yard touchdown. Carpenter adds the extra point, and now it was 28-17. So that would be the score after 3. And then in the fourth quarter, with just a little over 11 minutes still left to play, Kirk Cousins throws his fourth touchdown pass of the game. This one a 5-yard touchdown to Pierre Garçon. And with the extra point by Hopkins, it was 35-17 Washington over Buffalo. And then with about 90 seconds left in the game, Tyrod Taylor goes back to Sammy Watkins for a 20-yard touchdown, and Taylor ends up taking it in for the 2-point conversion. And so now it was a 10-point game at 35-25, but with just a minute and a half left, time would run out on Buffalo. And that does it for the Bills this season. They're now eliminated from the playoffs. The Redskins, with the victory, are now 7-7, 6-2 at home, as they now put a little space between them and the Giants. They're up by a game in the East with 2 games left to play. Of course, we'll see what ends up happening with the Eagles in their game with Arizona. But Buffalo 6-8 on the season at this point here, and now eliminated from the playoffs. They're 3-5 on the road. In this game, Washington pretty much dominated the game. They never trailed at any point. Buffalo did make somewhat of a comeback attempt. Of course, kind of getting some scores in garbage time. But the thing was with the Bills, when they started scoring there, past the midway point in the third quarter, they scored kind of quick. And the Redskins scored quick too on that 77-yard touchdown just a couple minutes earlier. But the Bills, with scoring so fast, they were leaving their defense on the field and making it tough for them to stop the Redskins as they were pretty wore out. And you saw that drive that went from the third to the fourth quarter where the Redskins ended up eating up half of a quarter, 7.5 minutes before Cousins threw his fourth touchdown, that 5-yard touchdown pass to Garçon. But what a game by Cousins. coming up huge as he had a hand in all 5 touchdowns. He threw 4 and rushed for 1, 5 total touchdowns for Kirk Cousins, and he was 22 for 28 and 319 passing yards. And as I said, the 4 passing touchdowns, also 3 carries for 11 yards on the ground with that rushing touchdown. Of course, that was a 13-yard run. But Alfred Morris, 14 carries for 84 yards in this game. And Deshaun Jackson, 6 catches for 153 yards, including that 77-yard touchdown. And Jordan Reed, 7 catches for 84 yards and 2 touchdowns. Pierre Garçon, 3 catches for 34 yards and a touchdown. And for Buffalo, Tyrod Taylor, 16 of 27, 235 passing yards and 2 touchdowns. He also had 9 carries for 79 yards. And Gillespie had 4 carries for 81 yards and a touchdown. And Williams, 4 carries for 41 yards. LaShawn McCoy ended up getting injured in this game. He had 10 carries for 29 yards. Sammy Watkins had 5 receptions for 111 yards and 2 touchdowns. Robert Woods, 4 catches for 44 yards. Look at the kickers in this game. And Dustin Hopkins, 5 for 5 on the extra points, did not attempt a field goal. And Dan Carpenter, 1 for 1 on the field goals, 2 for 2 on the extra points. And then on defense for the Redskins, Blackman had a sack, Hatcher had a sack, Kerrigan had a sack and a forced fumble, Smith had a sack, and Jean-Francois had a sack as well. So they were having a sack party there in D.C. And for Buffalo, Hughes had a sack. Look at the team stats, 23 first downs for the Redskins, 21 first downs for the Bills. And on third down, the Redskins, 7 of 11, 63% conversion rate. Buffalo, 5 for 13, 38% conversion rate. They went for it 3 times on fourth down, just converting 1 for 33%. And total net yards, 452 for Buffalo, 431 for Washington. And on the ground, the Bills netted 240, and the Redskins netted 123. And through the air, Washington netted 308, Buffalo 212. Cousins sacked once for a loss of 11 yards, and Tyrod Taylor was sacked 5 times, losing a total of 23 yards. Then we look at the penalties in this game. There was 8 penalties against the Bills for 56 yards, and 5 penalties against Washington. And then we look at the fumbles. 1 fumble for the Redskins, which they lost, and also the Bills had 1 fumble, but they recovered their fumble. Then we look at the red zone, and the Redskins were 4 for 4, 100% in the red zone, and the Bills 0 for 2, as they were not able to get it done in the red zone, as the Redskins dominated the red zone. And then the time of possession, 30 minutes, 56 seconds for Buffalo, 29 minutes and 4 seconds for Washington. So the Redskins coming up with a big win. Of course, they play so much better at home than they do on the road. And against a tough Buffalo team, the Bills, even despite being below 500, they have a good team. They're a tough team to beat regardless. But Washington coming up huge. Kirk Cousins, another big performance, as he's been having quite the year. And the Redskins, they look like they just might do it. We'll see how things shape out. A lot of that depends on what happens with the Eagles. But with the Redskins getting the win, the Giants getting the loss, now a 1-game lead with 2 games left to play. Of course, it's going to come down to those final 2 weeks as these teams start playing against each other to wrap up this season. And it's still anyone's division, but the Redskins definitely getting a big win here to put a little bit of room between them and the Giants and possibly the Eagles, depending on what happens with their game. But Washington, at home, they're a tough team to beat, and if they can take the East, they will get a home game. So that will make things interesting. Of course, if they can get out of the wild card round, if they win the division, that is a lot of ifs. But it's going to be tough for them to win on the road in round 2. But that's getting a little bit ahead of ourselves, but let me know what you think in the comments section below. Definitely interested to read your thoughts and opinions. Thank you very much for listening. It's greatly appreciated. I hope you're having a good day and having a great weekend and enjoying all the sports.